Welcome, beautiful soul. If this is your first time, be sure to watch part 1. Link will be in the corner or in the description box. This is part 2 of Marked by the Alpha's Touch. The Child of Moon and Flame. Years had passed since the Great War. The kingdom finally knew peace, and the once ruthless Alpha King had become a symbol of protection and justice. Ethan Blackwood stood by the balcony of the royal chamber, watching the moon rise above the mountains. The air shimmered softly, a sign that something powerful was coming. Behind him, Amara lay in bed, her hands resting on her rounded belly. The glow of her mark pulsed gently beneath her skin, in rhythm with the baby's heartbeat. He turned toward her, smiling. "You feel it too, don't you?" She nodded, her voice calm and warm. "It's almost time." He walked to her side, kneeling beside the bed, resting his palm over her stomach. A spark of gold and red flickered beneath his hand. "She carries both," he whispered. Amara smiled faintly. The moon and the flame, together. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance, even though the sky was clear. The world itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting. That night, under the silver moon, a child was born. The night Lyra was born, the palace did not sleep. Wind howled through the marble halls, shaking the torches until their flames turned gold and red. Amara cried out, clutching Ethan's hand. The room filled with light so bright the midwives covered their faces. From far outside the city walls, people swore they saw the moon split into two colors, half silver, half flame. Ethan's mark on his chest burned. Amara's on her back blazed in answer. When the baby's first cry rose, the two lights in the sky twisted together and became one. Then everything went still. Ethan looked down at the tiny girl in his arms. Her eyes were closed, but a faint glow pulsed beneath her skin, a new mark, neither moon nor flame, but both at once. Amara smiled weakly. "She carries the two worlds," Ethan whispered, "then she also carries the risk. Because every prophecy has a shadow, and the seer's words still echoed in his mind. When moon and flame are reborn in one, peace will tremble again." He kissed the child's forehead anyway. "Lyra," he said, "light of our war, peace of our hearts." Lyra grew fast. At 5, she could calm angry wolves just by touching their fur. At 7, she stopped a storm by raising her hand. People came from villages to see the child of light. They bowed to her parents but stared at her with mixed awe and fear. Ethan loved her fiercely but worried more each year. "Power makes people worship or hate," he told Amara. "We must teach her to be gentle first." Amara smiled. "She already is." But Lyra felt the difference in every stare. She longed to be normal, to climb trees, to play, to laugh without the world watching. One morning she slipped away from her lessons and joined the palace guard's sons in a snowball fight. When one of them teased, "The little princess can't throw," she grinned and tossed a ball that exploded into sparkling frost. Everyone gasped, and she laughed so hard she forgot to be careful. That evening, Ethan pretended to scold her, but Amara caught him hiding a smile. At night, when Lyra couldn't sleep, she climbed onto their balcony. "Why am I different?" she asked. Amara wrapped her in a blanket. "Because love and light met in you, my heart. But difference isn't danger, unless you forget where it came from." Lyra nodded. Still, she sometimes dreamed of fire chasing her through the woods, and a voice whispering, "The balance is never free." By the time Lyra turned 15, the peace her parents had built began to shake. Crops withered in the southern fields, animals fled from the forests at night. The air felt wrong, as if someone was watching. Far beyond the mountains, in the ruins of the old Shadow Clan fortress, a man in a dark cloak knelt before a stone altar. The moonlight there was cold, silver without warmth. He traced a mark in ash, half of Lyra's symbol. "She lives," he whispered. "Then the darkness must rise again." Back in the palace, Lyra felt it, a sting in her. Mark, a sudden chill under her skin. She ran to her parents' chamber. "Something's coming," she said. "I felt it." Ethan took her hands. "You're sensing old wounds." Sometimes memory feels like warning. But Amara looked toward the window, worry soft but deep. Or maybe warning feels like memory. That night, Lyra dreamed of a boy standing in the woods, silver eyes glowing through the smoke. He held out his hand and said, "If you want peace, follow the shadow." When she woke, the mark on her back was shining through the sheets. The dream would not leave her. Every night for a week, Lyra saw the same silver-eyed boy standing in smoke. When she reached for him, he always vanished, and she always woke with her mark burning faintly. At last, she rode out alone again, following the pole that had started to feel like a heartbeat outside her own. By the river, she found him. Kyle lay half hidden under a fallen branch, his arm cut and his cloak torn. When she touched his shoulder, his eyes snapped open, silver bright even in daylight. "You again," she whispered, remembering the dream. He tried to sit up. "Then the moon really does send warnings." She blinked. "Who are you?" He smiled weakly. "Someone who was told not to speak to you." Lyra hesitated, then helped him up. "You're hurt." He gave a crooked grin. "You should see the other ones." The joke caught her off guard. She laughed. He stared at her as if he'd never heard real laughter before. She took him back to the same watchtower where her parents once hid during the war. The air smelled of damp stone and wild mint. She cleaned his wound. He winced. "Stop moving," she said. "Hard to stay still when royalty scolds me." "I'm not royalty." "You shine like it." She looked away, cheeks warm. "You talk too much for a wounded man." "And you help too much for a cautious one," he said. When she finished, he held her gaze. "Thank you, Lyra of the Twin Light." She froze. "How do you know that name?" He didn't answer. "Because I think I've been looking for you all my life." Outside, thunder rumbled, though the sky was clear. Days passed, and Kale's wound healed. He stayed hidden while the guards searched for intruders in the forest. Each evening, Lyra brought him food, pretending she was gathering herbs. Their talk turned easy, mocking each other, sharing stories. She taught him how to whistle. He taught her how to track stars. Once, while trying to climb the tower stairs, she slipped. He caught her by the waist, their faces suddenly close. For a heartbeat, they both forgot to breathe. "You were supposed to let me fall," she teased. He grinned. "And ruin the prophecy? Not a chance." She laughed softly. "You sound sure there is one." "There always is," he said quietly, "but not every prophecy ends in ruin." He looked down then, and she saw it, the mark on his arm, shaped half like a flame, half like a dark crescent. Her chest tightened. "You have a mark," she whispered, "and now you know why I was told not to speak to you." Before she could reply, horns echoed from the valley. A black mist began crawling through the trees. Kyle's expression hardened. "They've found me." "Who?" "The ones I ran from." "The Shadow Clan." The forest erupted. Shadows swept across the ground like living smoke. Lyra's hands blazed gold. Kale's eyes burned silver. Side by side they fought, their light pushing against the dark. Every strike shook the ground. Then came the flash. One shadow larger than the rest, cloaked in red fire. It struck Kale squarely in the chest. He fell, gasping. "Kale!" Lyra screamed, running to him. Her mark flared so bright it lit the sky. He managed a faint smile. "You were never meant to fight alone." The ground cracked. The darkness retreated, but only for a moment. A new symbol started burning over her mark, a third sign neither moon nor flame, a shape she didn't recognize. The enemy's voice hissed through the air. "The third light rises. The curse begins again." Ethan and Amara's soldiers burst through the trees. but it was too late. Kale lay unconscious. Lyra knelt beside him, tears and light mixing on her hands. When she looked up, the moon above them had split again, half silver, half red. Amara reached her daughter, whispering, "What have you done?" Lyra's voice trembled. "I think I've started something none of us understand." The new mark on her skin pulsed once, slow and deep, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to her. Far away, in the ruins of the Shadowlands, the old seer opened her eyes. "The child of moon and flame has awakened the third light," she murmured, "and love has paid its price." The world was too quiet after the battle. Lyra opened her eyes to dim light leaking through the forest canopy. Smoke hung in the air. Her head throbbed. When she tried to move, a pulse ran through her body, hot, steady, alive. She sat up and saw the faint golden-red shimmer on her skin. The mark on her back had changed. A new symbol curved around it like a ring. Inside the ring, a shadow moved, faint but real. "Kale," she whispered. He wasn't beside her. Where he had fallen was only ash and a single silver chain. She grabbed it and felt warmth, proof he was alive somewhere. When she pressed it to her heart, the new mark answered with a soft glow. Her parents found her hours later. Ethan lifted her gently. "You're safe now." She shook her head. "No, I'm not. The battle's over, but the mark isn't. It's changing me." Amara touched her daughter's face. "Then we'll learn what it wants." That night, Lyra dreamed of Kale standing at the edge of a river made of stars. He reached out and whispered, "Between light and shadow, I wait." She woke with his words echoing in her chest. Days turned to weeks. The palace returned to calm, but Lyra could not rest. Every dawn she felt the mark stirring, showing her flashes of places she had never seen. Ruins covered in frost, a tower with a black door, the sound of Kale's voice calling her name. Finally, she went to her parents. "I have to find him." Ethan frowned. "The Shadowlands are poison." Amara laid a hand on his arm. "She carries both lights now, Ethan. Maybe she can walk where we couldn't." He looked at Lyra a long time, then nodded. "Take 3 guards. Stay close to the border." She smiled faintly. "Thank you." That night, before she left, her father handed her a dagger carved with the moon and flame symbol. "If darkness comes close," he said, "remember what side of your heart you stand on." The journey began under pale skies. Her guards rode behind, quiet but alert. Villagers they passed whispered blessings and fears. Some bowed, others hid their faces. At a small village near the mountains, an old woman stopped Lyra's horse. "Child of the twin light," she rasped, "the third mark is not curse or gift. It is a door, but doors open both ways." "What's on the other side?" Lyra asked. The woman smiled sadly. "That depends on who walks through first." That night, Lyra sat by the fire, twisting Kale's silver chain in her hands. "Where are you?" she murmured. The mark glowed faintly in answer, pulsing toward the north. She rose. "I'm coming." The northern mountains were sharper than knives. The air grew cold enough to bite. Lyra's guards struggled to keep up as snow swallowed the trail. At the ridge stood a ruin, half temple, half fortress. Symbols covered its walls, glowing faintly when her mark lit. She stepped inside, alone. In the center was an arch of black stone carved with words she barely recognized. "Between what was and what is, the heart decides." Her pulse echoed in her ears. The mark on her back blazed. The air rippled. She stepped forward and fell through light. When she opened her eyes, she was somewhere else. The sky was twilight, endless, full of floating lights. Ground and air blurred into one, and there, standing not far away, was Kale. He looked the same and yet not. His eyes shimmered with silver and gold at once. A faint shadow moved beneath his skin. "Lyra?" His voice cracked with disbelief. "You shouldn't be here." She ran to him and hit his chest with both hands. "You disappeared. I thought you were dead." He caught her wrists gently, laughing softly. "I didn't mean to worry you." "That's all you ever do," she said, trying not to smile. He tilted his head, still bossy, even in the afterworld. "This isn't the afterworld," she shot back. "It's something between." He sobered. "They call it the veil. It's where light and shadow meet. I was pulled here when the blast hit. Then we'll find a way out." He shook his head. "If I leave without sealing what's inside me, the shadows follow." She crossed her arms. "Then we seal it together." Kyle laughed again, soft and surprised. "You never learned how to give up, did you?" "Not on you." A faint blush rose on his face. "Careful, your parents will hear." Lyra smiled. "They'd say it's about time." He reached out and brushed a leaf from her hair. "You always find me?" "Maybe because you keep getting lost." The warmth between them softened the strange world around them. For a moment, it felt almost normal. Two people teasing each other under a sky that didn't belong to either of them. But the ground trembled. The lights dimmed. From the horizon, a wave of gray mist rolled toward them, whispering in 100 voices. Kale drew his sword. "They've found me again." Lyra's mark flared bright. "Then we fight together." The mist poured over the hills of the vale like a living sea. Kale's blade cut through shadows that dissolved into sparks. Lyra's light flared gold-white, forming a circle around them. When the last wave faded, silence returned. Both of them were breathing hard, faces lit by the soft glow from her mark. Kyle grinned. "We make a good team." She pushed a strand of hair from her face. "We'd make a better one if you stopped getting us chased." He laughed. "So it's my fault now?" "Always," she said, smiling despite herself. They walked until the light changed to a pale violet. Strange trees shimmered like glass. Every step made a low musical hum beneath their boots. For the first time since she arrived, Lyra felt wonder again. Kale pointed to a lake that reflected 2 moons. "The edge of the veil. If we reach the far shore, it might open a gate home." She looked at him. "Then let's go." As they walked along the water, he said quietly, "When I first saw you, I thought you were only light." "I didn't know light could look back." She raised an eyebrow. "Is that a compliment or a poem?" "Both, maybe." She laughed. "Then you need practice. Try again when we're not being hunted." They reached the lake's heart where a small island floated on mist. Runes covered its stones, matching the pattern of her third mark. Lyra knelt, tracing them with her fingers. "It's reacting to me," she whispered. "Maybe this is the key." The runes began to glow and a voice echoed around them. Soft, familiar, almost human. "The third light binds what cannot be undone. One heart must stay, one must return." Lyra looked up sharply. "Stay? What does that mean?" Kyle stared at the runes, jaw tight. "It means one of us belongs to Shadow." Before she could answer, the island shook. The gray mist formed shapes. Faces, hands, memories. One of them looked like Ethan, another like Amara. "They're illusions," Kale warned, but Lyra stepped forward. "No, they're memories trying to hold us." The visions spoke together. Balance or break. Her mark flared again, golden flame twisting with black smoke. Kyle grabbed her arm. "Lyra, you're merging both powers. You can't hold it." She met his eyes, smiling faintly through the pain. "You forget who taught me stubbornness." The light burst upward, a pillar linking sky and water. When it cleared, Lyra and Kale stood on solid ground again, but not in the same world. They were at the edge of the Shadowlands. The air smelled of iron and rain. Far in the distance, fire burned on the horizon, armies were gathering. Kale looked down at himself, Part of his arm shimmered translucent, half light, half dark. The veil didn't free me, it changed me. Lyra touched his hand and the shimmer steadied. Then we'll fix it together. He smiled tiredly. You really think we can? I think we have to. They walked until the sky turned red with dawn. Between them, the third mark pulsed softly, a rhythm shared by both hearts. For a while they forgot war, teasing each other about who would tell her parents first. You, Kyle said. Why me? Because you're better at speeches. I only know how to fight. She grinned. Then you protect me while I talk. Like always. Their laughter faded as a roar rose from beyond the ridge. Black banners unfurled, shadows marching under a new symbol, the same one as the ring on her back. Ethan's voice echoed faintly in her memory. Remember which side of your heart you stand on. Cale drew his sword. They're coming for you. Lyra lifted her glowing hands. No! They're coming for both of us. The first line of darkness struck. Light met shadow, and the valley exploded in color. Villagers miles away saw the sky split again, half gold, half silver, half crimson. When the storm ended, Kyle was gone. Only the silver chain remained, warm against her palm. She fell to her knees, whispering his name, but a deeper sound rose behind her, a heartbeat that wasn't hers. The mark on her back opened like a flame-shaped flower, revealing a new symbol forming in its center. A single eye made of light and shadow intertwined. Her breath caught. What are you? A voice, low and calm, answered from the air. The beginning of what comes next. Lightning crossed the horizon, striking toward the distant capital. She turned and saw the faint image of a winged figure rising from the ruins, neither man nor beast, glowing with the same triple mark. Lyra tightened her grip on Kyle's chain. Then it isn't over. The wind carried her words away, but the mark on her back glowed once more, steady, waiting. The morning after the battle was quiet. Ash drifted across the valley like slow snow. The fires had burned out, but the earth still glowed faintly gold where the light had struck. Lyra walked through the smoke, her cloak torn, her hands still shining softly. Every step she took, the ground healed, grass rose again, and flowers opened in the middle of ruin. She carried Cale's silver chain in her hand. He had vanished the night before, taken by the shadows when the sky split in three. No one knew where he went, only that his last look toward her had been calm, like he was finally free. Ethan and Amara found her there. Her mother wrapped her in a warm hug. You brought peace, my child, Amara whispered, even if it doesn't feel like it. Lyra nodded but said nothing. The mark on her back still pulsed softly, now gold with silver veins running through it. It didn't hurt, it felt alive, like someone breathing with her. That night, she dreamed again. Kyle stood in a field of stars, smiling. I told you, he said gently. You'd always find me. She reached out, but he was only light. When she woke, the chain around her hand glowed faintly, warm like a heartbeat. The months that followed were slow and full of healing. The land grew green again. People rebuilt their homes. Wolves returned to the forests. Lyra rode through the villages with her parents, helping where she could. Children ran after her horse shouting, "The light lady, the one who ended the dark." She always smiled, but the ache stayed under her ribs. One evening, while camping near the northern river, she stood by the water and looked at her reflection. The third mark shimmered faintly across her back, no longer just gold or red, but a gentle white light. She whispered to it, I don't want to be just a story. I want to live. The wind answered with a quiet voice, Cale's voice. Then live, Lyra. I'm part of that light now. Every dawn, every shadow that doesn't win, that's us. She closed her eyes and smiled through her tears. You always get the last word. Only because you always start the fight. The voice teased softly, fading into laughter. The mark on her back glowed once, then settled. Years passed. Lyra became a guardian of the borders, protector of both worlds. The Shadowlands slowly changed. Kale's people came out of hiding. The new peace wasn't perfect, but it held. One night she followed the moonlight to the old tower where she first met him. It was quiet, covered in vines. In the center, where he once slept wounded, a new stone stood, smooth and warm, carved with the same 3 marks joined together. When she touched it, the tower filled with light. Kale's shape appeared beside her, not solid, but real enough to make her heart race. "You kept your promise," she whispered. "So did you," he said. "You turned the curse into balance." They stood there for a while, just looking at each other, light and shadow at peace. Then Kyle stepped back. "The world doesn't need me anymore, but it still needs you." She wanted to speak, but he raised a finger to her lips. "Don't say goodbye. Say see you in the next light." He smiled, soft, steady, the way she would always remember him, and faded into the glow. The next morning, Ethan and Amara found Lyra standing on the balcony of the tower. She looked older, calm, her eyes reflecting sunrise. "The prophecy is finished," she told them. "There's no more shadow, no more war, only what we make next." Amara hugged her tightly. Ethan placed his hand on her shoulder, proud but quiet. They rode home as the sun rose behind them, painting the mountains in gold and silver. Back at the palace, Lyra climbed to the highest balcony. She lifted Kale's chain and tied it to the railing so it would catch the wind. "Every time it moves," she said softly, "I'll know you're still here." The chain chimed, faint but clear. That night, a child born in a far village looked up and saw a new star appear beside the moon, bright and steady. The elders said it was a sign that the moon and the flame had joined with something greater, the third light that keeps balance forever. In the palace, Lyra wrote the story of everything that had happened: the war, the love, the loss, the peace. When she finished, she closed the book and whispered, "For you, Kale." The candle flickered once and went out by itself. A faint warmth brushed her cheek like a soft goodnight. She smiled, whispering, "See you in the next light." Outside, the moon burned gentle white, and the world was quiet again. When light and shadow love the same flame, the world must choose whether to burn or shine. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.